that office, when you occupy it, you must respect the people, you must not demean it.
Welcome again to another episode of Savage Politics. Today, I have an old hand, particularly in the legal profession, Dr. Ekuru Aukot, the man who is responsible for the current constitution that we have. Dr. Ekuru is a practicing lawyer, a lawyer of international repute. He's participated in formulating a number of constitutions across Africa. Welcome, Dr. Ekuru, to Savage Politics.
Thanks for having me on the show. My first time.
Thank you.
I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you. In Savage Politics, it's just a conversation.
Yes, it should
we discuss current affairs.
Yes.
We look at our country, we look at Africa, we look at international politics, just to help the viewer have an opportunity to listen to a perspective of the whole thing. And in my mind, amongst the people in the legal profession, you're one of the brains that is respected in this country. So I was thinking, and I said, let's have a chat. Maybe you'll help us understand what is wrong with our constitution, because there is breakdown in the rule of law in our country. When this was promulgated, everybody was very excited that now we have independent institutions that will guarantee fair play, that will guarantee the rule of law. We have many commissions that you set up that are independent. Maybe you'll brief us, because other than the Judicial Service Commission, which we have seen them send one or two judges home for misbehaving, we haven't seen much from the other independent institutions that you set up. Maybe you'll explain to us, is it the law, or is it the competence of the people we put in, or maybe we just have incompetent characters, because even the law, you can't write everything. So maybe you should be able to explain to us, where do you see weaknesses in our constitution? You also came up with the Punguza Mzigo to try and amend the same constitution. And the rule of law is an issue in Kenya today, where the people you pay salary turn guns on you, turn tear gas on you. You are just a little young girl looking for a job, a little young boy looking for a job. You are carrying a leaf, you are carrying a mobile, and somebody opens fire on you. You are carrying the Kenyan flag, meaning you love your country. Bottle of water, and somebody just opens fire on you. So what is wrong with our rule of law?
So, CJ, I don't think this is a conversation that we can finish today, but let me start by saying that when we went around the country asking Kenyans about what change they want, the aspirations of the people of Kenya. So one of the geniuses of our constitution is chapter 6, on leadership and integrity. And Kenyans say that if you are a leader today, if you are President Cyrus Jirongo, that office, when you occupy it, you must respect the people, you must not demean it. Okay? So if you look at most African constitutions, what we call the 20th century constitutions, one of the common denominators in all constitution is Article 1, where they say that all sovereign power and authority vests in the people to exercise it directly or indirectly through their elected representatives. Now, what we have seen over the many years is that we've had political conmen getting into power. And I think the call right now, and I'm so happy that our children are actually seeking to take over the mantle of leadership in our countries, the Gen Z movement basically, are saying that we, the older generation, actually have let them down. And I think what that means is that perhaps there is now a moment for us to amend Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya, where we say, you know, a government of the day is an employee of the people. So today, CJ, if you're a staffer, domestic worker, or your employee steals from you, what do?
You should have the powers to fire. To
fire them. So I think that's where we have reached as a country today. That we've had betrayal over and over again. And I think reflecting back to our history as a people, and maybe this is where I always recommend the reading of a book by a guy called David Lamb, The Africans. So if you look at the opening statement of that book, he says that Africans or black people deluded themselves by thinking that if they kicked out the Muzungu, the colonialist, that they were liberated, only to realize that actually they were replacing them with black imperialists. And this is what we are seeing today. Politics in Kenya has become so commercialized. Yeah, it's business. So you have got primitive individuals. I mean, honestly, okay, I don't like using the word primitive, but
the acts are primitive.
But some of the people in leadership in Kenya today, CJ, makes me wonder, why did we go to school? Can you imagine today in Kenya that the face of leadership is Farouk Kibet, Oscar Sudi? And what does that mean for the guy who is in charge of that government? That this is the best. And CJ, I'll put it to task, because maybe credit to you and others. When you guys in 1992 came up with the YK92, Youth Focus 1992, we knew that, for example, President Daniel Arap Moi at that time had many people supporting him. You had the Baringetuns, you have got the Hosea Kiplagat, you had Philemon Chelagat, you have got, I don't know, the Kulays and the rest, but they never spoke. But today, look at President William Ruto. That you're actually allowing the Oscar Sudi to speak for you. Who the hell is Farouk Kibet to begin with? You talk, I mean, I hope we can be brutally honest in this show.
Yeah, you're supposed to be honest.
So who is, for example, Farouk Kibet even to be able to summon ministers? And then what has happened actually to like our people's representatives? Our people's representatives are failed, Ken.
Where they're called to dance.
Yes, exactly.
Ordered to dance.
I mean, a guy like Mbadi, for example, as intelligent as he is, I think he is, by virtue of the fact that he, you know...
Actually, he used to be in the same committee in Parliament.
Exactly.
And at one time I told him, you know, I'll make you my Minister of Finance when I take over this country. I met him the other day and he was telling me, I'm the Minister of Finance before you take over this country. So he's a very brilliant character, by the way.
So the upshot of this is that, CJ, many of us Kenyans are curious onlookers. We've sat on the fence for far too long and have allowed idiots to be in charge of our affairs. And that reminds me of Plato. Plato wrote and said that one of the consequences of failing to participate in politics is that you'll be ruled by your inferiors. I mean, and he said this centuries ago.
Yeah.
So, but it is actually now manifesting itself in our context. And today, as I was coming in, I remember I called you and I told you, hey, is the road okay? I was home watching what's happening. And I'm so happy that our children now are actually taking charge. And they have brought this country to a standstill. But why is that? Not that we like anarchy or like a situation of, violence or whatever. But there is something that is fundamentally missing. There is that expectation. If you look at President William Ruto, for example, he styled himself as a chicken seller, I come from this background. Yeah, I'm one of your own. I can associate with you, Mama Mboga. I can associate with you, mtu wa mkokoteni, the wheelbarrow guy and all that. Now, we actually now beginning to question the whole concept of leadership. So for a long time we said we don't want dynasties. Of course, there are no dynasties in Kenya. I mean, loosely translated. When you think about the Kenyattas, the Mois, and then the Odingas and the rest. But now here is one of our own who says, oh, I'm one of your own. Now we have given you leadership, and look what he's doing.
But he's married into one dynasty. Or he has a kid in one dynasty.
No, he's an in-law to Raila Odinga. We all know that. It's a fact. I mean, he's an in-law.
So he has dynasty blood.
There is dynasty.
As a child, as an offspring.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not so sure that the definition of a dynasty,
I don't actually
befits the people that we have in Kenya today. Yeah, you see, the folks that we have in our government, in our leadership today, to be honest, are just businessmen. They are conmen, they are liars, yeah, they are rapists, they are murderers.
So if somebody marries your sister and you've stood for something, you've stood for the rule of law, you've said, I'm fighting to bring in a new constitution. We have a new constitution. Basically, because somebody has a kid with your sister, all that operates into the air. So that's what you're telling us.
You know,
that they never actually believed, deep in them, the songs they sing to Mwananchi.
You know, I think maybe the conversation should be beyond that kind of that analogy. The question then is, what's wrong with us Kenyans? How is it that for decades we can be duped by an individual? And if you look at the leadership question in Kenya today, we have reduced it to a few names. CJ, you and I are lucky. We've traveled the world.
We know what's going on.
We've known, you know, like I keep saying, I can wake up in the morning and I ask my 19-year-old daughter, make me breakfast and I want my Prosecco. I can do a sparkling wine in the morning. And I'm okay. But can our children do that today?
They can't.
And that is the fundamental question that I think we should be asking ourselves. That we have allowed certain individuals to actually dominate our politics or our spaces.
Is that...
Why is it that the majority of us are not participating in politics?
You know, but is that a consequence of an implementation of Section 6 of the Constitution? Because clearly it looks like our legal framework is not holding.
No, CJ, so I'll tell you this without flinching. You know, I'm surprised, actually Kenyans are surprised that the Constitution is not being implemented as we speak. Why? Because the person we put in charge of our government and the implementation of the Constitution who saw, of course, lying that I will protect this Constitution. Do you remember 2005? Do you remember 2010? Who mounted the campaign against the Constitution and the will of the people? Who?
William.
The red card.
Yeah, I was also with the red card.
Yeah, but you know, I remember you and I.
Yes,
we used to have a very serious conversation
on a few issues.
On the issue, say, okay, fine.
You many
yes, we can differ intellectually, but at least you and I, we had a conversation.
Yes.
But not somebody who says it does not want the. You never.
No,
you never.
I didn't say I don't want the Constitution.
Yes.
I said there are a few amendments to be done.
Yes.
Then
I know you are concerned about the land issue.
The land issue, yes.
The land issue. Yes. And we had this debate with you.
And today, land's office is a sin of crime.
Yes.
It's a sin of crime.
So to that extent, I agree with you. But I thought, you know, there is no perfect constitution in the world.
That's not.
Yeah. Even the so-called American Constitution written in those 1800 years, yeah, underwent various amendments. And that's why for me, even as one of the authors of our Constitution, in 2019, I came up with the idea of Punguza Mizigo because I thought that there are certain aspects of this Constitution, if you were to actually fix them, it will serve the people.
And serve the people
better. And that's why for me, I am so much pro the ward level in terms of taking services to the people's doorsteps. I actually don't believe in the 47 counties, but it was a negotiation.
It was.
And we had to invoke the Provinces and Districts Act of 1992 to say, okay, how do we bring in the whole question of inclusivity? As a Turkana, coming from the northern part of Kenya, our narrative for the longest time was, oh, we are marginalized, we are being segregated, this and that. But now we say, okay, fine. Now we are giving you a county, pick your own governor, and then we are allocating resources
to you.
Including...
That was a success.
Including...
Just implementation.
Including Article 204, the Equalization Fund.
Yes.
Okay? Now you tell us, today as a Turkana, I'm embarrassed because we can no longer say, actually, we are being marginalized. By who? Kenya has actually allocated resources to you. It has also told you, because I don't see a time when, for example, me, I can come to Kakamega as a Turkana and become governor.
They won't vote for you.
They won't vote for me. Neither will Aluya go to Turkana.
He will not.
Yeah? But I think where we are headed as a country, in my view, there is call for a moment of introspection as a people. And I think also, I don't think the current leadership is able to introspect and say, let's do the right thing for the country. It calls for a certain group of individuals to say we can do things differently. For example, I mean, I'll explain to you why. There is opposition to William Ruto's government, that we understand. Then there is that other splinter group that was left. I mean, basically me, I look at them as jilted lovers. Yeah? Yeah. This just is a divorce, has happened, and you talk shit about each other. But there is still the background conversation. Are they really the option? When people start talking about the possibility of, I don't know, Matiang'i becoming president.
No, for now, in my view,
yes,
anybody, whether your intentions are wrong or right, our biggest problem in this country, we have never understood the intentions of those that we are electing. And this is a repeated program from from independence. Kenyatta came in with a broom of young leadership. He was an old man. They set up a few things correct. Kenyatta started as a nationalist, but Kenyatta died as a Kiambu leader. Facts be told. After JM, the central province themselves are up in arms. How do you kill somebody we believe would have taken us to the next step? Moi came in. He was a wonderful leader until the coup, 1982. And today, when I was actually coming here, the streets are looking like we have a coup in Kenya.
Yes, they are empty.
They are empty. Nairobi is locked down. There's no difference between 1992 coup and what has happened in Kenya today. Because the entire country is locked down.
So, CJ,
so where is the problem?
So let me ask you, CJ, now that you've been in these streets for some time.
For quite a while.
And you've been very instrumental in installing leadership, actually. Maybe we should even start blaming you.
Bacteria, you know what?
No, so now you take us back to 1992.
Let me tell you.
So if you are to come back today,
let me tell you.
Cyrus Jirongo, the President of the Republic of Kenya,
I talk about something.
What will you do differently?
I talk about something which people actually don't see. And I talk about it because of my background and what I've gone through. In 1992, we had a very clear agreement with Mzee Moi that we will groom young leadership to take over from him. We were actually fighting to take over Kenya the way Gen Z are fighting to provide leadership. And when you're together in a group, all of you believe we are a team of young men, let's fight, let's take over from these old men. But in that group, those specific people you are talking about, you have never known their intention. But when you are singing the choir of, no, we need new leadership in Kenya, we are tired of Biwott, we are tired of Saitoti, We are tired of Mzee Ntimama and others, Kamodo and all those people. We want a new breed. And that was our chorus. And we said to take over Kenya, let's take it over from within, which we managed to do. Of course, I was battered thoroughly by...
But what did you give us? After Moi?
Let me tell you.
After Mzee Moi, what did you give us?
Now, you must also understand.
Yes.
The biggest mistake we made was to say, we want to take over Kanu from within. Yet Moi had his people that he believed in so deeply. The same people destroyed us. Actually, Mutekinjau used to laugh at me when I told him, no, we are taking over Kanu and we are providing youthful leadership. Then, the selection of the youthful leadership to take over is supported by whoever is at the top. Right?
You know, CJ.
So to me, these young people are fighting today. If the intention of whoever is the next leader is not for the sake of this country, then it is a merry-go-round. I believed, for instance, I don't know, that somebody like the Nairobi governor had a future in the leadership of this country.
CJ,
but today I can hear everybody crying about the leadership in Nairobi.
Why are you not running for president?
I'll answer you that question another time. But let me tell you, before you ask me so many questions, let me answer you something.
If you are running for president and you get in there, from the bottom of my heart, because I know you care about the country, you have got a political pedigree, right, from those early years of 1992 and the rest, you know. For some of us, I'll be more than happy to go back to law school and teach law, yeah. And because I know their country probably will be in the right time, because nobody can buy you, nobody can excite you. No, you're not excited about these other things. But I think the problem today, I think in Kenya, is that who is actually in the leadership of this country? And it looks like we are glorifying idiocy and mediocrity in our leadership.
Give me 10 minutes, I discuss this with you.
Okay.
The situation we are in today as a country, one, if we are a sober leader, we should never have gotten where we are. Imagine, Daktari, your little girl, the baby you're talking about, who gives you tea, comes to you with a plate. Daddy, I'm hungry, I want to eat. And the next thing you do is to pick a panga and start cutting that kid. What kind of a father are you? That is exactly what has happened in Kenya. Dealing with the leadership that do not even understand what the problem is, despite the fact that they have been told so many times what the problem is. We are tribeless, we are partyless, we are what other...
Formless.
We are formless. And I'm carrying a leaf, a flag, and a bottle. I'm telling you, I've gone to school. I'm not utilizing my talents. I want to utilize my talents. It is an economic revolution. And an economic issue, you answer it with tear gas, with bullets, with abductions, and all sorts of evil. And against children who are basically begging you, I want to do something, I want something to eat. If I were the president today, the first thing I'll do is to overemploy. Those 11 billion you are giving yourself in State House to enjoy, to go and buy your fellow leaders, that is rubbish. You are not thinking correctly. Get 100 billion, 200 billion. 100 billion today, if you utilize it very well, you will employ 200,000 young Kenyans. Overemploy today in the counties, give these children experience. Overemploy in the government, give these children employment. The next thing, I'll set aside another 100 billion, scan the entire country, and find out what are our natural resources. If it is minerals, I'll do a proper mineralization document. I'll do a JOG report, which I know I can put on any market, stock exchange in the world, and I'll get investors buying into it. Prepare to industrialize Kenya. You can only industrialize using your resources and resources that you can access. In Africa, there are no resources Kenya cannot access. Meaning, if we decide we want to put up 10,000 factories of different things, we will do it. Kenya should be importing labor. Instead of overemploying to prepare these young people for the industrialization that must take place, you are killing them. Meaning your intention of being a leader, you aren't a leader from the first,
but
from
then,
the word go.
But then, CJ, let's answer a fundamental question.
Yeah.
Why is it that Kenyans elect this kind of leaders today? Why?
I can't blame Kenyans.
You know, for me, for example, I'll share for you my experience. When I ran for president in 2017, and you ran too.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that I was being asked, and I think maybe this is now, we need to begin to question about ourselves as a people. Yeah? I was asked, hey, Turukana, how many votes do you guys have? How many votes can you gather? So they never wanted to look at Jirongo manifesto, the manifesto of that. You know, so I think maybe for the longest time, we've just allowed the wrong people to be in leadership. And you see, if today you lock your goats with an hyena and tomorrow a goat is eaten, honestly, should we even be complaining?
The biggest thing you have told me from when it started is that we should look. Is it chapter 1?
Chapter 1.
Whereby
Article 1.
Article 1, where we allow Kenyans, we create a formula on when Kenyans can exercise powers directly without these complications, because even if you say they're independent institutions, I'll ask you about IBC.
Yeah.
If you say they're independent institutions, they have all failed. You can see it. So the architecture of that must put into consideration that we have Kenyans who are capable of going to a church pulpit. And before they say anything, they'll pick the Bible. And I saw this during one breakfast at Safari Park, where somebody picked the Bible. He was supposed to invite the president, and he starts crying with the Bible in his hands. Rafiki yangu wewe, katika safari yangu, twatembea na wewe. You can remember that picture very vividly. Who cannot be conned by that? Even me,
So maybe,
how to be conned.
so maybe CJ, as a country,
Yes.
we probably need to be psychoanalyzed. Because me, I don't believe... I don't...
I think so.
I don't believe in witchcraft, but I think when it comes to politics in Kenya, witchcraft is real.
But even me, I would be conned with that. Somebody's crying. Na anasema rafiki yake, rafiki yangu wewe katika
So are you saying,
safari.
are you saying,
You know that really, to a person who believes in his God,
so are we,
the Christians who go to church, they actually got conned properly.
so
And they went out there
So are we then-
fighting very hard
So are we
for
then-
somebody who was a conman in the name of God.
so are we then saying that
And
actually,
is proceeding to be a conman in the name of God by trying to build a church on public land.
okay, so two things. I think, CJ, let's agree generally, I think we are a sick nation. We need some treatment of whatever nature.
Kenyans are not sick.
No.
The leadership in Kenya is sick.
You know.
In every market, there's a madman.
Okay, so now.
Kenyans made a wrong choice. I think I'm the first one. When I talked about it, I said, you guys, you'll be worse than Somalia. If you elected this guy to be a president, you will be worse than Somalia in less than a year.
So not
what
to-
was I told?
So not to-
I was told, nasikia wivu.
So not to lose your point,
Yeah.
Not to lose your point on a person who picks the Biblia and whatever. I think we are dealing with a mental situation.
It is a mental situation. Because you can't con in the name of God. Honestly,
But then
when
also,
you swear to uphold, and you are asked, what faith are you? So you swear with the Bible. You swear with the Quran. Honestly, we should believe you are swearing to something that you are willing to uphold. Protect the Constitution, you are swearing to it. You say, I was in CU at the university, I was a Sunday boy school, everything.
CJ.
But they turn out to be the worst conmen.
CJ, you're one of the most intelligible human beings I always enjoy having a conversation with.
Thank you.
William Ruto was your student. You actually brought us this problem.
No.
Because
I have never...
if your student is not better than you...
The time I realized...
Yes.
I told the Kenyans, you're in trouble. The time Uhuru realized, he told the Kenyans, you'll be in trouble. But somehow, Kenyans didn't want to listen because of what I've just told you. Somebody who is telling you, you guys will be worse than Somalia tomorrow. And somebody who is holding a Bible and crying, Rafiki yangu wewe, who will you believe? So the art of conmanship was so refined that Kenyans would not listen to what we are saying.
Then maybe, okay, so then maybe we need to ask ourselves the question. So why are we as Kenyans that gullible that we can actually be lied to openly, repeatedly? In fact, not just once, repeatedly. And we buy into it.
If you're not careful.
Why? Because for me, CJ, I want us to move this conversation. If Kenyans today are very angry enough,
they are angry.
Me, I've said, I don't think they're angry enough.
Kenyans are very angry.
They are not. Because if we are angry enough, I don't want to hear a conversation around, 2027. If a thief today or a robber invades your home, what do? You act immediately. 2027, in my view, is too far. I'm not advocating for any coup or whatever, but I'm just saying, again, in the spirit of Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya, why should we wait for 2027 when actually the person in charge of government today is making us suffer? He's raiding our pay slips, coming with some strange thing called shisha, whatever.
Actually, if I became
that's
president,
nonsense.
If I became president tomorrow, the first thing, you need to refund money that is being stolen from public workers. Second thing, you need to create employment for our young people. Third thing, as you create that employment, it's not sustainable. You need to put up a system to industrialize Kenya and open the Northern Corridor. LAPSET. We have a document the late President Kibaki prepared for us. All we need is to enhance it to cope up with the changes in this country. And above all, you must be careful with the intentions of those seeking leadership. Last election, this I've never told anybody. Last election, remember, Uhuru was my friend for very many years, together with William Ruto and others. But I saw Uhuru. For 10 years he was president. I saw him during Soita Chitanda's funeral. The next time I met him was 6 months to election. 8 months to election. And when we met, I had a very clear mind. And even when I was talking to people in Western, they'll tell you, I was very clear. I told them, it's not that Raila is a good leader. It's not, Raila and Ruto, they are the same. The only reason why the only reason why I told them vote for Raila is that sometimes people will start wondering, is it only two communities that can produce children who can lead this country? Kalenjins and Kikuyus. But I'll shock you. When things became very tight, I told Uhuru, listen, we only have one solution here. Let us make Martha Karua our presidential candidate. This country will be in safer hands as people prepare to deal with the economy to move it to the next level. Actually, it became a war for me to get even just to be a running mate. So people know clearly that certain people have certain intentions for this country, but they would rather deal with so and so who they can do their business with. The day those going into leadership will stop the idea of thinking a country, you take it over because that is a source of business. And I think that is one of the issues we are missing in the Constitution. Totally blocking out any leadership from ever engaging in business.
CJ,
because really that is what they do. They have the money. So they want to install Ekuru or Jirongo because they can do business with Jirongo. He will favor them here and there and there. Honestly, this country will never move until we come out of that stupid circle. Two circles we must come out of. The tribal circle, which these children have told us we are tribalists, we are everything less. And still today, there is a leadership that is stupid enough to think they'll isolate Kikuyus and mobilize the rest of Kenyans. They are still thinking that. I have Kikuyu children. You have a Kikuyu wife, you have half Kikuyu children.
Actually, we call ourselves Tukuyus.
Tukuyus, yes. Turkana Kikuyus.
Yes. That's our tribe.
So, you want to tell me, honestly, I'll sit down and look at somebody demonizing Nyambura, my mother-in-law, just because she bears a Kikuyu name.
So what I'm thinking, CJ, we can
honestly
do. So one of the things that for me, I would have done if I was president of this country, I'll create a prison with the transparent glass prison. And I'll put all the bad guys into that prison with all the charges. That this one stole billions, he did this, he murdered. And then I'll invite Kenyans to visit that prison every other often.
Kenyans want food on the table.
So that you can change so that you can.
Kenyans want food on the table. You are a lawyer and a politician. I'm a businessman and I'm a politician. What are we doing about it? Because a solution will not be a young man being a leader. We have seen young men who I groomed myself turning into tyrants. I worked so hard for Uhuru. I worked so hard to bring up William. I brought him into politics. But look at what they have done.
And that's why we are blaming you, partly.
Because I believed what they were saying was true. And that's why I'm saying I cannot blame a Kenyan if I was conned. And I believe I'm intelligent enough. Why would not an ordinary Kenyan be conned?
So, okay, CJ, let's talk about taking this country forward.
Yes.
Okay? So there are three things that you mentioned earlier in your opening statement. The whole issue of economy, inclusivity,
and the rule of law.
Okay? Now,
those are the failures today.
Now, the question then is, who are we entrusting with this country that can actually ensure those three aspects? Are implemented or enjoyed by Kenyans?
I and you need to agree. We need to form a credible team. A team that has the interests of this country at heart. A team that understands it does not matter how much money I have, I'll die tomorrow. And therefore that money, my children will go wasting it in bars with young girls because they never worked for it. They never thought, and they never understood how hard it was to look for it. Right? So, in that amendment of the Constitution, this issue of what you own, what your relatives own, what your friends own, I think we have abused it because it's never been taken seriously. Right? And you put it in the Constitution. I think it is there somewhere. It's part of the integrity thing.
So
really, we need to look at the intention of those people who will usher in the young generation and have the wisdom to look at these young people and say, who do we groom to push this country forward? Because even amongst them, they are thugs.
So CJ,
I have seen it. I've given you examples.
So CJ, you are raising a very fundamental question about our value system as African people.
It's rotten.
So in traditional African society, you are an older generation that will recognize the fact that we are no longer energetic enough, we are no longer able to protect society, and we encourage a younger generation to take over. And that, for me, is the hope right now I have when I see the Gen Zs on the streets. And for you and I, CJ,
we must participate in leadership.
In my late years, if I'm lucky to live that longer, I would like to enjoy myself and just relax, knowing that the country is in the right hands. And what the Gen Zs today are saying, actually they are saying, you guys have failed us. You, our fathers, our grandfathers, you have failed us. And therefore, what we need to do, in my view, is, can we guide them? Because today, I would rather enjoy myself at my private members club. I call my granddaughter and tell her, come pick me, drive me home. We need to give some responsibility to our children. We are not doing that. Why? Because the common narrative we've had for the longest time is that there are certain people here who must be in position of leadership. And that has created a false narrative of entitlement. We need to kill that. Why is it that in Kenya today, we are only talking about, I don't know, Ruto, Kenyatta, Raila. So why not Jirongo? Why not Ekuru Aukot? Why not my friend here? I don't know Christine.
What you are saying,
you know?
what you are saying, Ekuru, makes Ruto very excited that I can be talked to alongside the Mois, because that was his dream. The Kenyattas, the Odingas. So for me, let's forget about those names. For me, we need to come up with a team with a clear vision that we have 3 issues to address. And these issues, none of these leaderships has ever addressed them. Inclusivity is still a problem. The only person who tried to address the economy issue was Kibaki. But he failed on inclusivity terribly, right? And the reason why he was pushed out. But the economy, Kibaki came up at least with a plan. Tell me, which plan did Uhuru come up with? Which plan has Ruto come up with? And after Kibaki, honestly, if you tell me there's one day when the gradient went up other than going down, I shake your hand, because it started going down.
So then,
why? Uhuru comes into leadership and trusts Ruto and leaves the government with Ruto. Over 5 years, there's looting and looting and looting. When Uhuru is waking up, he cannot handle his deputy.
So then, CJ, let's do this. Let's agree that people like you and I and other, say, like-minded Kenyans are not proactively participating in the governance of our country.
Yes.
And we are not coming out strongly to say, no, we want to occupy that space. Because, sometimes I ask myself, honestly, I listen to some of these folks. I get so embarrassed having gone to school. When someone like Kipchumba Murkomen says the kind of things that he said, they shoot to kill order and all that. And I've said it in other fora, he's an embarrassment to our legal profession. And I feel so bad being even associated with him as a lawyer.
I'll belong in the next dispensation.
I feel terrible.
I know what you're feeling.
I feel terrible about that, because how is it that you cannot observe the basics of the rule of law?
Beyond that, children are on the street, we are hungry. You are flaunting money in bags, literally pushing your fingers down their noses. Even common sense doesn't make sense anymore.
So CJ,
when common sense fails to make sense, the basic ile ya mama boga, common sense ya mama boga, ya kwamba hawa wanalia wako na njaa, and you are going to donate millions, and you cannot show anybody any ability to do any business and raise any money. So
CJ,
honestly,
there is a call.
There
is a call from our children, the Gen Zs, that as we encourage them to take over the leadership of this country, and we should, as it ought to be, then we need to protect them. And anybody who is killing our children today should be our enemy, number one.
I want to also say,
because for me,
of course, that one is obvious.
Yeah, no, but
I've gone through it.
But as parents, we're not speaking.
My friend, loudly enough. I went to KTN when my daughter was in trouble because I had stood firm to say, "Why are you killing Juma?" And I said, "I know you did it," because somehow both of them were in my office at one time. Juma was going to school. He was doing his business. When I say that, my daughter loses a boyfriend on her street, just shot. She was carrying brains in her hands. I told you that story.
I remember this story.
The other one, a civil engineer, is pierced here by a wire, and they puncture her lungs when she's coming from her apartment. Then everybody is getting threats to Tutakuja Kwako. Are you getting? I was forced to go on TV and explain exactly what is the anatomy of assassinations in Kenya. I did that with Jeff Koinange. Thereafter, you need many more Kenyans of goodwill who realizes we are not here forever.
Yeah.
Legacy
Absolutely.
is not the billions that you leave behind. Legacy is the name you leave behind. That legacy, Mandela left it without billions. Nyerere left it without billions. Sankara left it without billions. And many more African leaders have left a legacy without billions.
And
so this madness
so it is interesting.
of robbing a country, thinking billions is a legacy, it is the worst stupidity I have ever seen.
It's primitive accumulation.
It's primitive accumulation.
Primitive accumulation of wealth. It's never
Yes.
ending. But I think it's interesting that you bring other African leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know earlier on I hinted to you that one of my favorite presidents in the world right now is Ibrahim Traore.
No problem. I agree with you.
Let me tell you why. Because we have lived under quote-unquote a democracy from 1963 up to now. Yeah, where we have popularly elected presidents and all that. They are democratically elected, but they hide behind the idea of democracy, but actually end up oppressing their own people. So you have someone like, say, Ibrahim Traore, who is being perceived negatively as a military guy who came through a coup. But nobody is telling us or speaking about what he has done for his country. Just within 2 years, he had cleared the national debt of Burkina Faso. He's told the French, you want our uranium? Buy it at the global market price. Yes. Because before that, the French were giving Burkina Faso 8 euros, imagine, per kilogram. When it was going at a rate of 282 something euros. I mean, man is doing so well. But look at here, let's come back home. Yeah? We have people who are saying they are democratically elected. Then you end up killing our children on the streets. Now you are militarizing our institutions. You are weaponizing everything.
What is the difference between Idi Amin's regime and our regime today? What's the difference?
I would rather an Ibrahim Traore anytime,
of course,
than somebody who lies. In fact, CJ, you know, when you read if you read the African Charter on Democracy and Good Governance, which we are a signatory to, I think chapter 8 of that article talks about the unconstitutional removal of governments. Now, in the context of Article 1, if you betray the will of the people and they decide we're going to remove you, what's that? Actually, that removal is constitutional because... If
you're the right leader, if things are difficult for you, resign and go home. But unfortunately, the intention of those that go into leadership is not to lead. Traore went into power illegally. Coups are not a solution. But he has sanitized himself by committing a crime to get into an office to rectify things. I don't really believe in coups. I believe we have the ability to elect a serious and able leader whose intention, the word here is intention.
CJ.
People go to power because they think it's the easiest way to make money.
Actually,
in 1992, I was nominated and made a minister by Moi. I refused. And I told him, I want to do my business. I didn't know what was coming. Because I had shifted the center of power from Biwott and Saitoti and now brought it to another young team. I was hit like nobody's business. 1997, I went to politics myself, something that I never wanted to ever enter in my life. So we must understand the intentions of the people we deal with.
So, CJ.
Just as you said, if there was good governance, what the hassle? Kusumbuliwa na watu, hii na hii na hii. But when it comes to the point where it has reached, then you must sacrifice and offer yourself and say, we need to sort out this mess.
So what's the difference between what William Ruto today is doing to Kenyans? Because he's actually orchestrating a coup on the will that people gave him. And what's the difference with Ibrahim Traore? I'm not very serious. So as we say in law,
yes,
context is everything.
Let me tell you.
Okay?
Let me
So,
tell you my judgment.
a democratically elected president is actually orchestrating a coup against the people.
The people. But let me tell you, I think William had one problem. William thought he's so intelligent that Kenyans don't think. And he thought he can lie to every Kenyan and do whatever he wants to do. And today, he thinks I can come up with a scheme and isolate the Kikuyus and I continue in leadership. There's no Kikuyu in Kenya today. There's no Luya in Kenya today. There's no Turkana in Kenya today. There is no Luo in Kenya today. You have been told we are tribeless, partyless. The only issue is we have to go to the streets and demonstrate for one thing. Register these children.
Accountability.
Give them their IDs. They'll wipe out all these people. But at the same time, we've got to be very careful and deal with the people who have intentions of moving this country to the next level and clearly grooming a team. Because even in a homestead, the way you said earlier, Muze would sit and look at his children and say, you know what, this one,
and trust this one.
yeah, I can trust this one. The other one will atanyanyaza wezake. So we need to play that role so that the transition has leadership that has a vision.
You know,
We would be, our team today should be a transition team to transition leadership to young people. But we need that observation period because you could easily give them Sakaja.
but let me.
What will happen?
CJ, one of the things, I mean, you've just pricked my mind. You know, when my daughter turned 18, so I took her to register to get an ID. And I told my daughter, I would like you to participate actively in the public affairs of Kenya because politics, in my view, is about public participation. It's about policy decisions on education, on health, on transport, security, all those things. Do you know they gave my daughter an ID that has an expiry date? Do you expire as a Kenyan?
Let me tell you.
For 10 years.
Let me tell you. There are things.
I mean,
there are things we'll correct.
It's so annoying.
You know, the issues that have been done wrongly by William are enough. In fact, if you want to do leadership politics in Kenya, discussing William is not correct.
I agree.
He's already been judged. Everything is over. So we now need to start telling Kenyans this is the solution. One, you have to return the money William Ruto is stealing from civil servants as a new government. Because there is nothing they have gotten in return. There's no consideration. You don't take my sweat and tell me you are building houses. For who? It is my sweat. It cannot be built.
And there's no formula on how you're getting allocated those houses anyway.
If, no, forget about it. If you are building houses and you're selling, I must be able to get benefits out of my contribution. So you'll tell me you invested 100,000, you have made 400,000. The civil servants in this country, public servants in this country, their money is being looted, they're getting nothing in return. So the next government must return the money this government has stolen from public servants. Second thing, the next government must put a formula in place to absorb at least 100,000 young graduates annually. And you must have a plan. When you're absorbing them, it is preparing them for the new jobs that you need time to create. That is really what will be a solution to our country.
But over and above that, I think, CJ, in my view, that as many people as possible really must get interested in politics. Because people have sat on the fence for far too long and have allowed the idiots and the miscreants to be the face of our leadership.
The middle class who are being frustrated today, whose salaries is being taken, have always been the problem. These are the people who have a lot of influence to the old and the young. You need to go out there, explain to the young people what they must do, explain to your parents what they must do. Did they what? They had their jobs, they sit in the offices, and they don't care. Today, they are the ones paying the price.
So I think, for me, let me draw this inference. I think for the longest time, we have allowed poor minds and poor people to be in leadership. Because then they steal from the public and they have to protect that wealth. If today you and I mean, we may not be billionaires or whatever, but I think we are rich at heart. We are content and happy with the little we have. If I die today, am I going down that grave with those houses or whatever? For me, I even want to be cremated, like maybe in a few minutes. But the problem now we have in Kenya is that we have got very poor, primitive people in leadership in Kenya. No, seriously. And for them, they get so excited. About, okay, I'll give you a story. Let me give you a story. So once I drive into our local joint with this guy. So he thinks that he now has a Mercedes-Benz S3 250. So he asks me arrogantly, hey, Wakili, you have not changed your car. So I decided, let me also be arrogant. So you want to compare an S250 with a CLS 500?
But he's just bought a new one. So
he's
actually telling you he's part of the new money.
He was a one-term member of parliament.
Yes.
Me, I'd already owned my car for like over 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah? So I look at him and I ask him, boss, seriously? Is that something you can tell me?
That is why you must
that's
come
how
to
cheap,
leadership as an elder.
That's how cheap our politics are descended. That we have got fools and idiots who think that because they have stolen today, buy themselves some small little car.
And they're going giving $1.5 million, $1.5 million anywhere. That you change. Your perception will never change. We know you don't have it. But now we know it is Kenyan money that you have stolen.
But now what worries me,
helping.
What worries me, CJ,
yes,
is also the extent to which Kenyans have become so gullible to actually revering to such.
Let me pick on that word you have said, gullible.
Yes.
The worst enemy of the Kenyan people is the Kenyan media.
Really?
If you are not friendly to the Kenyan media, tomorrow you will become a rapist and you've never raped. You saw the names they were trying to call Boniface Mwangi. A very innocent human being. Our media stop being commercialized, particularly those who write stories. That I must pay for a story to be written.
That's true.
And you tarnish anybody and make anybody look so dirty when it is not true. Just because you've gotten a few coins, you are eating today. We are where we are in history, partially because of our media. They have not represented or presented the information objectively. They'll pick on somebody and decide you are marketing this person. They don't write objective stories. They'll pick on somebody and somebody will pay for you to be character assassinated in the media. And it will happen. Now, I don't know whether the media today is enjoying and the Kenyans are suffering.
But then of course,
in my view, we are suffering the way we are suffering.
Are we not in a media house? So maybe we should go the alpha house approach. Instead of what they call mainstream media in
the
Kenya.
So-called mainstream media
yes.
must have control over their journalists.
Yes.
Their journalists are in business. They are not reporting stories.
No, but this is CJ.
Some of them, let me tell you, some of them are employees of politicians.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. I know.
You know it.
I know.
They are paid to craft certain stories.
I know.
They are paid to paint so and so this way. And the Kenyans believe that story.
Yeah.
Finally, they make wrong decisions. Leaving a proper leader, Ekuru would have been a very good leader. He will never do the stupid things that are happening. But who looks at Ekuru? Because Ekuru has not been able to employ people in the mainstream media to pay them to paint certain pictures.
I think, CJ, you and I and a few other guys, and we need to recruit a few people. Let's have a conversation nationally. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I think, in my view, we need to find a way of hitting the road, because a lot of these mainstream politicians who are the conmen, all they invest in is to buy a newspaper and they go to the obituary page and see who has died where And is that funeral?
Which I'll attend and take money, and everybody will clap for me because I contributed the most.
We are not having a conversation that pricks our conscience as a people, and maybe that's where we should go. So people like you, TJ, you and I, what do we lose? Sasa saizi mimi utanifanya nini ati?
I want Martha in that team. Yeah? Maybe Dr. Mkisa Kitui in that team.
Yes.
Kimbuana. Those are fellas.
Yeah.
We have Kenyans who mean well for this country. Number one. Number two, everybody in the opposition matters today. Why? There is a clear enemy that must be gotten rid of.
Mzigo number one.
Yes. So after that, the other issues can be settled. Hey, listen, if you are in this team because your purpose was you are denied business and that you'll do business, no. There is a new dispensation that says if you are a leader, you came to serve. You are being called honorable. And therefore your purpose here is to serve. I was Moi's minister for about 9-10 months. I don't know how deals are done in that office. I had very serious influence.
But that's because you're not a poor man.
I had very serious influence.
Yes.
When I worked with the late President Moi, I have no single allotment. Any landed property I have, I bought. I bought. And then I bought from people. Saika, I bought from people. The 1,000 acres they talk about is in exchange with the land that was taken away from me, land that I had bought. And that's why the Kenyan government entered a consent. But Kenyans also will feel bad if Mwangi today said of Equity he wants to go into politics. They'll make Mwangi so dirty that at the end of the day, you'll think Mwangi is a pickpocketer. He's not. He has done business. Now that he's not coming into leadership, nobody bothers about Mwangi. But the day he says he wants to come into leadership, they'll say how he auctioned the people's things. Yet he has an idea. He has done his private business. It has thrived. People don't want to borrow that talent. We have people who just have dark hearts. They feel bad that James Mwangi of Equity has succeeded. They feel bad, Dr. Ekuru Aukot, who is he to be the one giving us a constitution? Right? We have those dirty hearts. But I want to ask Kenyans, you've seen what the country is going through. You know Kenya has a lot of brilliant people who can take this country to the next level.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the person who's going to lead this country is going to come from the opposition. But when time comes, we must be so careful about who do we trust. Secondly, we must have a very clear, you see, after World War, 1948, I think, there was somebody called George Marshall. He came up with a clear Marshall Plan to revive Europe. What is the Okuro Plan to get back Kenya onto track? You must explain it to us. And the Kenyans must also understand we have very cheap minds in Kenya. Even what we have discussed today, you will see it in party constitutions. They come up with an economic thing. We will pay back this. We will do that. We will do that. They don't mean it. It's because they had Ekuru and Jirongo discuss it on YouTube.
That's true.
So they need to know. My friend Uhuru, when we met at Soita's funeral, that's the time I looked at him and I noticed he had realized he has a problem. In the same place, I had just talked. And I was being told, unajua, mimi nilijipanga. Unajua siasa ni kujipanga. Unakaa nyuma, ningetoa kichwa. Unafikiri ningekuwa, wewe bwana, I have learned to say the truth. And just say the truth.
Yes.
You live your life peacefully. It is not where you reach that matters. Live a free life where your heart is.
But then as
you say the truth.
But then as there's a fundamental question you raise. Yes, I know you say that the next leader in this country must come from the opposition. But you know, a fundamental problem has been for the longest time is lack of unity in opposition. because everybody is selfish.
Today, Kenyans will kill you.
Guys are not looking at, for example, what is CJ's comparative advantage to Ekuru Aukot or to others? And then once CJ gets in there, is he doing the right thing for the country or not? You see, unless we also now deconstruct this lack of unity in opposition, because why is it that some individuals think it just must be them?
No, let us go. Let us go to the public.
So let's have that conversation.
Let us sell our policies to the public. Let us say by June next year, the public will look and say, is it Ekuru? Is it Martha? Is it Jirongo? Is it Kalonzo? Is it the Matiang'i? Is it whoever? Is it huyu mzee wetu anaitwa nani? Wa Munyoro? Or whoever, is it Eugene Wamalwa? Because we'll go to the ground and talk to Kenyans. And the way Kenyans will respond,
but then,
let us come back and sit and say, Kenyans have said this. Then we look at the weaknesses and expose every one of us. This is what will happen.
CJ.
And so has this weakness. So has this weakness. So has this weakness. Let Kenyans have an opportunity to know Jirongo has big eyes.
CJ, listen. CJ.
Yeah.
You know, we also must now speak about the question of honesty or dishonesty amongst ourselves.
Yes.
Just the other day, did you not receive a phone call where somebody was saying, no, I don't trust Ekuru Aukot? Based on what? What have I done to them? Yes,
yes,
I was with you.
But I did.
Oh, yeah.
I explained to you.
No, you did what you did. But you see, where is this dishonesty coming from? Because people have got this self-entitlement, self-importance, self-belief. And when you look at some of them, to be honest with you, and maybe this is also the conversation now we need to take to Kenyans. When, for example, so-and-so offers themselves to be the leader in this country, can Kenyans now scrutinize that person actually? Deconstruct that person.
Please do.
Because the challenge for me I have, and part of the reason why you've not seen me even join those bandwagons or even be associated, is because I'm looking at these fellows, I'm saying, for 30 plus years or 20 plus years, you've been in the public service. What can we associate you with?
No,
as a success story, as a success story to benefiting society.
Ekuru, that will come later on. Today, Kenyans want a united opposition. If Kenyans hear you saying you have started criticizing opposition and you have 1,001 things in that government that you cannot, it is like shooting an arrow in the house where all of you are suffering, yet the enemy is out there where you should aim your arrow.
Listen, let me correct myself.
Yes.
I'm not necessarily criticizing the opposition. All I'm saying is, can we now, as people who have identified a common enemy in the current government, say, okay,
be honest with each other.
Be honest with each other.
Yeah, that will be a sitting room.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that will.
Can we be honest with each other?
Yeah, it will be a sitting room talk. It's not for the public. We'll discuss. Then we know what we come and present to the public. After we've quarreled in the bedroom, then we come to the public. But if we start discussing the weaknesses of the opposition,
I thought you said this show was about raw politics.
It is raw politics, but at the same time, there is raw, but sometimes it's too raw to be public.
Oh, well, anyway.
Yes.
The bottom line is that I think we recognize there's a problem in the country.
3 problems. The rule of law, we understand there's a major problem. Inclusivity, it happened from independence to date. We don't look at Kenya as Kenya. We go into leadership and look at Kenya as tribes. We even look at regions. We even say this region plus this region. Let us look at Kenya as Kenya. So that every Kenyan has an opportunity to be productive and contribute in developing his country. I believe in that very strongly. A Mijikenda child who is a genius might just be a solution to our problems in this country. It must not be a Luo, a Kamba, a Luya, a Kikuyu. Let us look at the competence of an individual. How competent is he? Beyond the competency, what are his intentions or her intentions for this country? Will he look at Kenyans as Kenyans, or he'll say home first? If those are the kind of people we want to discuss, then it is a vicious circle. The third and the final, we are going through an economic revolution. We need a Marshall Plan for Kenya. This is what we will do to resolve and make sure every Kenyan, every investment in education pays. We have invested in education heavily. Even our budget, the heaviest is normally education. That production we make in form of qualified people, graduates that are supposed to be employed, they must be afforded an opportunity to display their abilities by contributing positively to the development of their country, not by coming up with stupid stories on how you want to export them to go to Dubai to be cleaners for Marabus. Honestly, you can't insult the Kenyan education to that extent and call yourself a leader of this country. I don't believe in it.
Well,
your last remarks.
My last remarks are that Kenya is at crossroads. And one of the things that I've said, which at the risk of sounding very unpopular, that President William Ruto's Ruto presidency is a blessing in disguise for Kenya. Because I think now we can have some introspection and say, this fellow lied his way into leadership, telling the Mamboga, the wheelbarrow person, whatever, I'm one of your own, I can associate with yourself. Now, I really hope,
not to give another liar.
I really hope that, yes, that Kenyans will not allow themselves to be lied to again. And I hope that even when Jirongo,
will speak out.
When Jirongo, Ekuru, or so and so says, I want to run for president, can we at least give them an opportunity?
And listen.
Listen to them critically. And I hope that person who gets into that position will do the right thing for Kenyans. And I still insist, we must amend Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya.
That is agenda number 1.
To be able to fire a failing government.
To fire a failing government, to fire a failing judiciary, a failing parliament. Those are the 3 arms of government. We must give Mwananchi the power to fire either. Kibuta Kimbwana had an issue.
And independent officers.
Let me tell you, Kibuta Kimbwana had an issue with his MCS.
Yes, I know.
And he stood his ground. This constitution needed to provide an opportunity for him or for a citizen of that place of his to go and fire all those MCS.
I remember.
But the man had just to fight and survive.
I remember.
Because he was trying to do what was right.
I remember.
So you can also try to do what is right, and you have a rogue parliament that believes mimi ni mheshimiwa, kazi yangu lazima nipewe biashara kwa hiyo ministry. Otherwise I'll vote against the government. Otherwise I'll do this against the government. You must have a right reason to vote for or vote against. Unfortunately, we don't have parliament today. For me, we don't have parliament.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't. I agree. Anyway, thanks for hosting me. I hope we can...
we should do this more often. There are so many brilliant things you say when we are together. You have not said them today. I want you to... I really hope you'll say them.
Like which one?
There are so many. If I start saying... just that's chapter 1. That you need to give mandate to Kenyans to fire any arm of government or the entire government. And there must be a system on how that will be replaced without a constitutional crisis. That will be the first solution for the Kenyan people. But the other one is to ensure. Of course, we'll change this thing of being given an ID that is renewable. Those are 7 stories. You can't import them here. Abductions are 7 stories. Don't import them into Kenya. Kenya, we think differently. We will remove all those nonsense in the next government. But critically today, how do we help these young people to get their IDs? How do we help them to register as voters? And they are damn intelligent. They'll pick your mind. If you talk and they can see Ekuru Aukot means well for this country, they'll come with you. But not when you come out because you think you went to court to present them. and you think I'll be president through a shortcut.
Today one of the things that...
They look at your head. You know what? They have the capacity to carry this country.
You know one of the things that impressed me this morning?
Yes.
Just before I left home. Yeah. There's actually a Gen Z who has developed an app. Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yes.
To inform Kenyans about the police barricades.
Yeah, I got one. I actually got to the police barricades. I mean, we're dealing with very intelligent people.
I'm sitting in my house and I'm being told, avoid this route. Kuna police hapa.
To me, this is a moment for Kenya. Mm-hmm. Let us capture the moment. You have a young
generation. There's one thing that we must also be deliberate.
Yes. Looking
into the nature of our politics. And talking of unity in opposition. Mm-hmm. I think where we have reached now as a country, I should not shy away from mobilizing a region that I can be listened to.
Yeah, mobilize. But the final intention we know.
Exactly.
The final intention
is for us to meet on
it is one Kenya. Yeah. We put it together for the purposes of changing this country forever. Mm-hmm. So that we are midwifing tribeless, partyless, formless Kenyans to take. But we will be able to sit also and look at these tribeless, formless, whatever Kenyans, those that you can trust. As a child, if I leave the rest of the children in the hand of this one seems to be fair. This one is not greedy. This one will not sabotage the constitution. This one will not do this and that. Because honestly, even these police officers, who you see it is not their wish.
No, it's not, of course.
It's not their wish. They are just as pained as you and me.
After all,
but they took an oath they'll do that job.
See, after all, their pay slips are also being raided.
They are raided, Somebody who can even steal from his military, steal from his police, that they are contributing for houses. You must be really very courageous.